Welcome. r/AskReddit. What's the cringiest thing you've seen a bride and groom do for their wedding? I was a photographer for a wedding where the bride was marrying a man with 2 kids from a previous relationship. I was in the bridal suite when the bridal party was getting ready and all of the bridesmaids had matching silk robes. The flower girl, groom's daughter, was there too. They asked me to take a group photo of the bridal party, and one of the women in a silk robe was standing awkwardly to the side. I thought she was just shy or something, so I waved her into the photo and the room got dead silent and the bride was like, "Oh no, we don't want her in the photos," and glared at me like I should have known that. Apparently she was the groom's ex-wife and was there to take care of the flower girl, but why did you give her a matching bridesmaid robe? I wanted to crawl in a hole and die. I worked as a wedding videographer. This is the only Bridezilla I encountered in 10 years. This girl was so self-centered she kept everyone waiting at her outdoor ceremony for more than an hour while she was pampered in the macu chair. While she's having them redo this and touch up that, she's sort of making up her wedding vows in a very relaxed, casual manner completely inappropriate for the 100 people sweating under full summer sun waiting on her. Her aunt came in and very gently reminded her people were waiting on her and that it's been more than an hour and she threw a tantrum, screaming, "I feel like everyone's forgetting this is my day." Eventually she comes out, vows are lame and borderline incoherent, and one of the groomsmen, sweltering under coat and vest and shirt and sun, passes out from heat exhaustion. The officiant whispers to ask the couple if they should stop and make sure he's okay and she goes, "No, he's just being dramatic, keep going." As the couple is headed back up the aisle, an ambulance can be seen arriving to tend to the poor overheated groomsman. Giving horrible vows and speeches. A part of my family has the habit to use any family gathering as a moment to remember loved ones who died. That's not a comfortable habit for me, but to each his own. However, it becomes very weird when wedding speeches and even vows start to include great uncles who died more than a year ago, and the only people who actually knew him are my grandparents. Yes, the vows. And not even in an interesting way, but just if only Uncle Barney could have still been alive while we are getting married. To be honest, our entire family is horrible at giving speeches. There's 2 brothers, one of whom is my dad, and 2 sisters. My parents can only make joke speeches. The uncle and his family make dry lists of things they do. For example, his wedding speech for his son was a 10-minute monologue about renovating the couple's kitchen. One aunt can only boast about achievements their family members have gained. If there's no achievements, there's no speeches. The 4th is the one with the death speeches. At the beginning of the reception, we all had to stand up and sing the national anthem. To be clear, this was in another country I'd never been to a wedding in before, so I thought, okay, maybe this is just a tradition I've never heard of before here. Then I told this to other people, and they were all like, no, that's just really weird. Also, at that wedding the father of the groom ended his speech with what I'm sure he thought was an amazing joke on how it's easier to build a bridge to Hawaii than to understand what a woman is thinking. It would have been awkward enough had the man not also been standing between his ex and current wife as he was delivering it. This happened right before our wedding. We were set to have my now husband's family friend that's a pastor be our officiant. I'm not religious whatsoever, but open to anything. My husband's late mother was a Sunday school teacher, and so his family is pretty religious. Anyway, we went to the pastor's house to go over our wedding plans and everything, and he asked me if I was going to center my marriage around God. The answer was no. It got awkward real fast. It became a back and forth as to why I won't accept Jesus and how awful that is. He didn't like it either. We were getting married at a country club. He then refused to do the wedding. We scrambled and found our town's mayor to marry us. I made my own ceremony and wrote the whole thing from scratch. Then the day of the wedding the mayor mentioned her recent back surgery and just wanted to get this over with. She called my husband Eric multiple times. His name is Evan, and she was high on painkillers, so she went off script there for a bit. Have you ever watched I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry? Yeah, she did the whole marriage is a circle script. It took everything we had not to die laughing. And that pastor? He showed up and watched the whole thing go down. We got a picture with him at our wedding. Him and his wife cropped us out of it, and he made it his profile picture. This was Marizo, the bride's family. One of my first classmates to get married. We were 19, had a small reception, mostly family and friends from high school. Nothing wrong with that. They decided to auction off the garter belt, and whoever won took it off the bride. Most of us were poor college students, so the only people bidding were her dad and uncles. It was super uncomfortable. Edit. I did not expect this reaction. So to answer the most common questions, the bride's very drunk. Dad won to the tune of $500 plus. Money grabbed by the couple to help with honeymoon expenses. This was not Alabama, North Dakota, and this was not the normal garter tradition by any means. Just a particularly cringe-worthy version of an already cringy tradition. So let's see. Groom changed who his best man was and didn't tell the original BM until the start of the ceremony. Bride and groom asked a guest to bartend the reception at the reception. Groom dirty danced with his stepmom, full hands on ass. Bride and groom hauled their wedding party up to do a choreographed dance to Meatloaf's Paradise by the dashboard lights, but didn't give them any pre-warning or teach them the dance. That song is 8.5 minutes long. Wedding was at a scenic boarding school campus during the summer. Guests were told dormitories were complimentary to stay in. Guests were not told there would be no bedding provided or account in the building. Groom later reviled everyone who stayed in a dorm asking for money. Same bride and groom chose another friend's wedding reception as the right setting to yell at a third pair of mutual friends for not including them in their wedding party. I'm in the wedding industry. I've been to over 3,000 weddings. The singing your vows thing is never ever going to work out like you think it will. Never sing your vows. Never attempt to sing any part of your wedding. It will not go as you visualized it. A wedding day is not a good time for surprises. Don't surprise your bride with an unexpected part of the ceremony. Don't surprise your mom by the wedding itself. True story. The bride told her mom she was going to an engagement dinner. The only exception to this rule is if you give the bride a surprise addition to her ring, grandma's diamond, a ring made from her parents' rings, etc. Jokes about sex later are never funny. They make people uncomfortable, and it makes you look like an adolescent. There will always be crickets after you make the joke. If you are going to be late, communicate that to everyone somehow. Have your or your parents, or someone tell everyone you will be late. The staff needs to know, especially if you forget the rings. Don't stress it. It's a funny story. If you forget your vows, wing it as best you can. Just don't sing. Ask the officiant for help for last minute vows. Finally, don't get drunk and be an ass. You don't want to be that guy. Plus, if you are drunk, you won't be able to have later. Long ago I worked at a banquet hall and witnessed a fully NASCAR themed wedding. During the reception they played the audio of the proposal going out over the PA at the track. It was fully unintelligible. BZZ bag mrrry mesruam. Other highlights were the owner locking himself in his office to avoid the bride's father because he was threatening him to haggle out the costs. In the end we had to call the police because the bride in gown climbed over the bar to steal more sweet MGD after we had closed the taps and the event was over. Friend's wedding. The bride wanted to sing him a song, so she did a kind of karaoke thing. There's bad singing, and then there's whatever the hell this was. It was so awkward. Also, dude asked a professional photographer friend of ours to photograph the wedding about a year before. Got a super non-committal answer. Never followed up. And was shocked that the photographer didn't show up after he specifically declined the invitation because he was going to be in another country. Had the entire set of groomsmen rent ridiculously expensive tuxedos. Which, fine. Cool. Happy to be here. He's having his tux custom tailored. Asks for something ridiculous and gaudy, but when quoted the price says he can't swing that and insists they do it for about 1/4 the price. They do their best to meet specifications within the given price range, but it's bad. Really bad. So, the groomsmen look amazing, and he looks like a clown that didn't put on his makeup. has another friend make a custom batch of mead for the toast, but rents a hall that doesn't allow outside alcohol, so it can't be used for the toast during the reception. It was probably the cringiest thing I've ever seen, not just the cringiest wedding, or even cringiest thing at a wedding. The groomsmen prepared a skit in which they lost the groom at the reception, and proceeded with over-the-top hands on hips. Hey guys, aren't we forgetting something? Well, where can he possibly be? Acting like some high school musical. None of the guests were prepared, and silently fussed around with their drinks and silverware. When the whole thing ended, they anticipated like a standing ovation, but it went over the heads of everyone. A lone voice muttered that was kinda weird, as they made their exit quietly. Edit. I guess this blew up to the point I should try to remember some of the skit. It was some of the corniest shit I saw. Not sure if some of them were inside jokes to the groomsmen crew. They all entered into the main area together minus the groom. One guy had the fat-ass cartoony voice. Hey, aren't we missing something? It can't be me, because Imalwa is prepared. Winks and paws for laughs. What about your boaty? Oh no. Produces tie, puts it on, waits for audience reaction. No wait. It's the groom. Where can he possibly be? This went on for a bit. I don't remember it all, because I was on my phone not really doing anything but to avoid eye contact every time they said a line and desperately scanned across the audience. In the end the groom came out through the door. When he was cued, I don't think he knew about the skit. Thank God he wasn't there to see it unfold. As for the crowd, who isn't gonna clap and whistle when the newlyweds show up at a wedding, so it was all good. So this wedding took place in an Episcopal church. Priest had all his finery on and the church itself was decorated very nicely. The bride and groom had asked everyone to wear casual clothes. We all took that to mean semi-formal. Nope. They and their kids all came out wearing overalls and white t-shirts. Stood next to the priest in his formal robes. The other cringy part was when the groom, during the ceremony, started talking about the Bible verse "Let the little children come to me," and insisting it implied, and listen to what they are telling you. Pretty sure they were divorced in 2 years. Edit. I should explain the little children comment a bit more. It was part of a 20-minute speech explaining how the bride and groom got together. There were plenty of parts in the story where the groom was like, I wasn't sure she was right for me, but his son was pressing him because he wanted a mom. Sad story actually. Biological mom died when the kid was 4 and this was 8 years later. So it was this long and focused story that boiled down to I'm marrying this woman so my kid can have a mom. Not a good sign when that's your main reason to get married. I focused on the little children quote because getting advice from children is absolutely not what that quote is about. I knew it, probably half the attendees knew it, and the priest definitely knew it. That whole story would have been fine to tell during the reception, but I have no idea why he decided to tell it during the actual wedding. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit like. If you would like to see more, feel free to subscribe.